Hi, my friends. It's Roxie Allen. We're going to do this guy, this beautiful winter river painting. I'm pretty excited about it. I love it. It's gorgeous, and it's actually not that hard. So the colors we're going to use today, we're going to go with a white and a black. I need a little bit of kind of a lighter yellow. I call it lemon yellow, but that's not like an actual color. So just a light yellow, an orange, a pink, and I'm going with a purple lake. You can go with any purple. I just love purple lake. I think it's gorgeous. Any other colors? This is pretty much what I've got. White, black, phthalo blue, or any dark blue, purple lake. I've got that nice lemon yellow. I have a cad yellow right here, but I also have an orange. And you can use either one because the pink and this lemon yellow or the cad yellow will make a darker orange. So it doesn't matter. Whichever one is either in your kit at home or a kit that you purchased from me or somebody else. And I actually licensed this on Shutterstock from this amazing artist who's just S-BELOV, I think. Anyway, the link is down below if you want to check it out. So let's get rolling. I'm going to start up in the sky. So what I did is I took a paint pen just so you could see it better, because usually you can't see it very well at all. And I'm using my standard brushes. I'm going to do my 1-inch wash brush. And always be sure to dab your brushes on a paper towel when you take them out. So I'm going to use a little bit of white and just push that in there. Oh, I forgot to get my paints out of my kit. That's hilarious, but that's fine. And I need that. Okay. So I'm going to go in and add a little bit of my lemon yellow. So I've got my little lemon yellow. You can put this on a plate, or you can put it, just take it. I can't help it. I love going straight from the lid. So I'm going to go in and just soften this yellow in here. And I'll come back maybe and put a brightness in the middle. But I'm just going to go in pretty gently. And I go farther than I think I want. Farther, farther, farther. Perfect. So then I'm going to start ever so gently adding a smidgen of orange. Woo! Smidgen of orange. And you can use, in a lot of the kits, I put the cad yellow. And I'm just going to grab, things are falling down on me. That's fine. Let's get rid of that. Let's put that right there. So I'm just using a little bit of the cad yellow. I'm going to start moving that in. And you can see that takes over, pretty fast. So be fairly gentle on that. And I'm going to start adding in some of the tiniest hint of pink. So I'm just going to take a little bit, just a little bit, and start throwing that in. And you can actually put it right up in there and start getting that gorgeous orange. And you can actually you can use a little bit of the orange. Good, good, good. So I'm going to throw that up there. And that just takes over so fast. So I really want to soften it. Woo. And get your tops. Okay. And I'm going to come back in a little more. That is so bright. I'm going to calm that down a little bit. So much of this is to taste, but just add little bits and you'll figure out what you love. Get your tops and your sides while you're working because it makes your life so much easier. So I'm using some of that cad yellow on the top. Pulling that around. And this is a little of that cad yellow and the pink. You can use, if you have orange, you can use it, but I find the orange really does take over pretty fast. But that's okay. We'll just pop that in there. Pop it in there. Okay. And then I'm going to start adding bits of pink. So I've got, you can kind of see that, just a little bit of pink. And I want to start adding it in here. Woo, that is a lot. So I'm moving that around. And if you need to, just come in with a touch of white. Come in with a touch of white and soften that. And take your time with this. If this gets messy for you, just come in with your paper towel. Let me get all of these paints off. Wipe off your brush if you need to. Grab some white and soften that up. And it's really beautiful. Okay, so I'm going to continue with a little more pink, and I'm going to come around in here. I'm going all the way down. And then I'm going to come in here and do a little pink. And that's going to be like right in there. And I'm just going past those trees. You'll be able to see those carbon lines. And I'm using a little white when I need it to move more. So just moving that up. And just try to keep a little bit of a nice base in there. If you start to lose it, like right here, I'm going to wipe off my brush. I'm going to come in with some white and soften that area. Does that make sense? Don't go too crazy because you'll just move it right in there, but just play with that a little bit. And if it gets too muddy, feel free to let it completely dry. And then you won't be able to blend it after it dries, but you'll be able to add to it and color match and add a brightness to it. So that's cool. So come in, I'm adding more pink to all of this section. So it's really got a beautiful pink up here. And these can be trees in the background. I mean, don't put too much stress over this. Just make sure it's fun and bright. Just kind of enjoy that. And maybe a brighter pink down here. As it moves a little bit away. Hope you can see that. Okay. Okay. And then I want to start adding my purple lake. Ooh, that light is so bright, right in my eyes. Okay. So I've got my purple lake. I'm just dabbing it. You've got little thingies you can add to your, you can put it on one of the plates that I gave you. I think this is super fun though. I'm just going to add, oh, that's a lot. That's fine. I'll come in here and add it in there too. And at this point, I'm going to start adding it like it's choppy in there, like there are trees happening. Does that make sense? If it gets a little too crazy, just soften. Just soften. Ooh, that got really crazy over there. That's okay. I might add a little white. Do the tops, do the tops. Because no matter what, this is like, oh, I'm giving myself a little workout. If it gets too bright, remember you can always come in with white and soften those colors. And they're beautiful. And you can add a little more pink because it's fun. If you want to. Don't go too crazy because you don't want to just do little parts at a time. Okay, so find something that you kind of love. I'm really liking that. I think I want to soften a little bit of that. Yeah, I think that's in good shape. So what I want to do is come in. I'm going to grab my phthalo blue, just a little bit of phthalo blue. And remember, your background does not have to be exact. All we're doing is going from yellow to bits of orange to some of the pinks and purples in there. And you're going to have different intensities, and that is fine. You can just plop lots of fun stuff in there. And I might come back and add a little bit of white with the pink, like right in there, because I feel like I lost that. But if I do it now, see how it gets muddy? So I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait until it is a little bit drier. Okay. So I'm going to start with that because I think it's super fun. Now with my phthalo blue, I'm going to grab, I got to grab some glasses, you guys. Oh my goodness. Grabbing some glasses. Okay, so with my phthalo blue, I'm actually going to come in and I want to start on my dirty brush. I'm going to grab a little phthalo blue and just start adding it kind of where these fun lines are. And for me, that is a little too sharp. So I'm just going to soften. That's fine. I'm just gentle. Now, don't scrub your brush. You're just kind of moving it up. And if you need to, come in, soften some of this. You can do little bits. And you can soften that. Or if you like it nice and sharp, you can leave it nice and sharp. And then I'm going to wipe off my brush, pulling this down with white. Pulling that down with some white. And it kind of comes-ish. So I just want to pull that down. And this can be choppy. It can be whatever. Whatever. That is just fun. And we can get more specific if we want to. Just nice. Be nice to those brushes. Don't go crazy with them. And we're going to bring phthalo blue way up here. Woo! And then up here. Let's just start adding some nice, beautiful blues up here. And get your sides if you need to. Just move that along and get all of that side, because as you do that, it's just going to feel so much better as a painting. So I've got some blues in there, moving that in. And at this point, I'm going to grab some white and right up in the corner, make this a little brighter, a little bit lighter. And I still want it nice and choppy. I don't want it too perfect. I'm just going to move this stuff in. It's going to mess up those lines just a little bit. Oops. Hold on just a momento. finish this light. Good, good. Okay. So I love all the different colors in here, and I'm going to keep it pretty much like that. If you need to, you can soften, but letting this kind of sit as it is really fun. We can do some other stuff in a little bit, but we're going to use some black and stuff. But I think this is great because it gives it some depth. Okay, with my dirty brush, I'm going to come in with black. I'm going to come in with black. Let's see if I can sort of shut this door. Okay. And again, I want to reiterate, if this is not as nice as you want it to be, let it dry and come back because that'll feel much better. Okay, I'm coming in with black and I'm going to do a couple things. I am going straight black here. And do this sort of thing. Be nice. Don't scrub these brushes. Like, you want to keep this nice chisel, okay? So that's what we're looking for. Just go in. And if this ends up with some blue in it, that's totally fine. It's going to have lots of blue and purple in it because we're going to play with it a little bit. Okay, and then I'm coming in, and I know this feels quite dark. That's okay. That is okay. But this was the easiest way I found to achieve a similar effect. Okay, is just giving it a nice dark base. The other thing I would like to give a nice dark base to is right over here. So I'm going in with black. If you want, you can use some of your phthalo blue in there. It makes a really, really beautiful color. So you're not going to go wrong with that. And I'm going to put that blackish blue color right in between my trees. And it's nice if it's not quite, see, I'm just leaving that nice and jagged. Does that make sense? And then moving that on in. Yeah. And then just mesh it into these blues up here. You do want to make sure that all of the little white, the canvas is, well, it's actually cloth, right? And then we put gesso over it or paint. And you want to make sure that all of those little grooves in the weave have paint in them. So don't smash your brush, just add a little more paint. And by a little, I mean, like, can you guys see that? There's like a nice little dip on there. And use that, okay? Because that is going to get into those grooves really, really well. And then what am I going to do? What am I going to do? I am going to leave this so we don't get too confused. I'm going to pull black in like this and like this. So I'm going to go in between these trees. And that's fine if we go in the trees because we're going to do black on the trees too. So I'm leaving this little spot open so I don't get confused. Does that make sense? So just take a minute, look at your lines. I'm just going to go, it's not quite like, just kind of a nice, if we do this. Okay. All right. All right. And then, yep, going in there. So does that make sense? So just take a minute. We're going to go that is a great way to start. So I've got, but let me see if I can turn this light off for a second. Does it take some of the glare away? So we're going in here. And make sure all those little spots are gone. Okay. And along this riverbed, so one of the things that I did was I got crooked, which isn't necessarily bad, but we're just going to fix that while we can. Okay, good. And then I left a little gap, and we'll deal with that in a minute. We'll probably make that bigger. Okay. And there we go. Okay, feeling good so far? Doing beautifully. So this is what I want to do now. I have some naked spots up there. So I'm actually going to take one of my brushes, and I have a bit of an extra brush right here. I'm just going to, no, I'm not. No, I'm not, because you may not have that at home. All right. So if you're feeling pretty good about that, let's add a little, let's wait for this to dry before we play with the water at all. Come in there. Okay, let's add a little blue. So grab your blue and come in. Now we've got this spot here. I'm going to add a little white. So I've got black on my brush, blue, and a tiny touch of white. And what I want to do is give myself a line like this. So I've got this nice spot to work with, and give yourself a nice line down here so you kind of know where the end of that is. And that even looks like water, which is great. So we're going to pull this down here. Pull this down here. So this is white, blue, and black. Just pull that down. White, blue, and black. Okay, so white, blue, and black. Da, 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 and you can just play with this a little bit. Okay, something that you like. So in here, I want to play a little bit with what's going on in there. And we might as well do it now. So I'm going to change from this brush. All I'm going to do is wipe this brush off and stick it in my water. And I'm going to come in with my 1/2 inch wash brush. And again, you want to use this brush in a sweeping kind of motion. You do not want to dab, because you will ruin that chisel. And if you find yourself doing that, you are going to want to kind of pop, 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 pop. So what I'm going to do is grab, if you have light blue, go ahead. But I'm just going to use that dark blue and some white. And what I want to do is just start to pop in some of this stuff. Doesn't have to be perfect, and I'm not covering up all of the black. Just popping some in. That makes sense. So again, I'm just using blue and white, dark blue and white. Popping little bits in. Do you see that? Just a little bit at a time. And for me, I'm going to try to keep one side darker than the other side. And maybe it works and maybe it doesn't. Just pop in some fun stuff there. Fun stuff. Ooh, so pretty. And just be real gentle. I don't touch the same spot more than really once. I mean, if I go over the same edge twice, you can even come back with the back of your brush and lift off bits of paint, which is kind of fun because it sets it back. But I literally will just scrub. It's kind of fun. I don't know if you guys can see that. Let's see if I can do it. Let's see if I can do it really close up where you're like, can you see that? Let's see. Let's see if I turn on this light. If I come in and scrub a little bit. And you kind of add these extra little textury bits, which is kind of fun. And it sets it back into the painting a little bit more. Really fun. Okay. So, good. I'm going to turn off that light again to save us on glare. But I'm coming in with some dark blue. And I'm going to hit this side. Boom, 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 boom. And I'm just popping it gently. Can you see that stroke? Just gently. Do, do, do. Do, do, do. And I'm going to do the same thing over here. Bum, bum, bum. And see how I'm not getting all of that. Can you guys see that okay? I am leaving a lot of space open and it's not too hard. So I'm going to come in with a little bit of dark blue. I'm adding some light blue on there and I'm just going to pull it out. And if that's too bright, mine got a little too bright, I'm just adding more. And then over here, I just want to touch little bits. And I'm pulling it just slightly past the black, but I'm leaving lots of black in there. Does that make sense? Just little bits. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. See how I'm going at the diagonal? Going at the diagonal. And I'm going to go kind of horizontally here. So I think that's fun. And just play. And if it looks like a big mess to you, don't worry about it. You can always tighten up. Just be careful because the more you do, the more it's going to all blend and become one color. So if that happens, let it dry, come back in. You could even do a nice line of black or something crazy like that. And just have some fun. So I'm going to go up here and I do the same thing. Oops, I need some white. And when I grab white, I know my palette's a mess, but that's okay. I just pull. I just pull a little pop. I don't mix it. You can if you want to, but for me, I think it's way more fun just to kind of add little bits as I go. And if that's too bright, come back in, and that's when you can kind of mix it. And I need more blue and pull that in, and then I can go back and do some of these things. Cool. And again, I'm just going at that diagonal. Does that make sense? Hope that makes sense. And come in on your sides. Make sure you're doing whatever you're doing on your sides too. Okay. And that is a really fun little section of trees. And it wasn't too hard, you guys. And if we need to change this, like I'm not in love with this right now, that's fine. I'm going to pull that out actually. And we'll deal with that. I'll probably come in and add little bits of white right at the baseline. And if you want, you can pull these things up, you know, just like use the very corner of your brush. And let's see if I can get this close up. It's still wet, so it's going to be a little bit different. Come in, pop some of that little tiny bit, just the corner of your brush. You can pop some of that up. And that's kind of fun. Look at that frozen plant life. You can do it up here. Why not? Add it there. And you can do little bits. Might add little bits there too. And this is kind of where you have to decide, you know, how much you add and how much you just leave it alone. I think that's really fun. And maybe I add little bits here. Like there's some snow. I think that's quite nice. All right, so, I'm just going to add a little more white in that because I think it's really fun to do. The occasional. Okay. Let's see how that is. We'll take a break from that section and see what we like, I think. Yeah. I always say take a break and then I just keep messing with it. But that also means I'm going to start blending where I don't really want to blend. Okay. Good, good. So for now, let's leave that. And I would like to wipe off my brush because I'd rather there not be any black. And I'm going to take a little of my phthalo blue and a little bit of my purple because I really love that purple. Just little bits. And decide what you want with your trees in here. Is this dry? My black is dry, but I've got kind of a naked spot. So I'm going to add some fun, darker trees. And then pull that down. Some fun, darker trees. Do you have to do this? No, of course not. Of course you don't have to do this, but it's really fun. And I love layers. That kind of makes me really happy. So I'm going to come in with both of those colors and just kind of add so. And then I'm going to take a little white, little bits. So pulling it in here. I know I'm finger painting. You can do this by sweeping with your brush too, but I like finger painting, so that's what I'm doing. I think that's fun because you end up with these gorgeous shapes that you know, you can't perfectly predict. And if you want them to be like nice and rigid, then just add a little more, right? Add a little more. Add a little more in there. I got too much white in there. That's a, oh, I like that though, so I'm going with it. I'm going with that. Oh, that's just fun. Okay. So I'm going to do that sort of thing, smush in a little color here, just little bits. And then I want to start edging in some nice horizontal lines. So on my dirty brush, I've taken white. And I want to go with a few nice horizontal lines. Like that. That's good. Yeah. Okay. I'm just going in. Because what I want to do is soften that black so we can start adding in some color. Now, what I should have done was maybe even do this with this guy, but I didn't, so that's fine. We're going to wash off that brush. Wash it off really well. So dab it on your paper towel, and I'm going to grab some lemon yellow, and I'm going to pop that in with a little white right in here. Grab a little white, pop that in. And it is a very loosey-goosey sort of thing. I'm not too worried about where this goes, because as you can see, they've got a little bit of yellow there, but for me, I want just a little more. Why not? And if you don't do it. Add less. Woo. And that's fine. That black is still wet, and I don't mind the black in there, but because I know I want to go over it, I'm just pulling out a little bit. Okay. So after that black, what do you think I want to come in with? I want to come in with a little bit of that. Let's do pink. And we're going to do pink right down here. And it's all on my dirty brush. Don't worry about going over. Go over. That's fine. That's totally fine. I'm going in here too. I know it doesn't do that on the picture, but that's what's, I think, right for my painting right now. And that's fine. Okay. So my black is still a little bit wet, but that's okay. And I'm going to come in with a little orange, which is the pink and the yellow, or orange if you have it. And I think that's really fun. And then we'll play with that a little bit more. Okay, so we've got yellow. You can even go big chunks of it right there. Just throw a chunk of yellow in there and make your lines as horizontal as possible. And if it's getting too muddy, just let it dry. It's no big deal just to let this dry. We can come back. And if you need to, move this in a way that makes more sense for you. And then I'm going to grab a little of my pink and yellow and move that in so I've got some beautiful orange. Or if you have orange, do it there too. And then I want a little more pink because I just love the pink. I'm going to put a lot of pink in there. So I'm just adding. Okay, and I don't want to overblend. I feel like that's a pretty good start. So I'm going to let all of that dry, which I know is a little weird. And then when this dries, I'll start adding light blues in here and shaping that up a little bit. So meanwhile, while that is drying, I'm just going to wipe off my brush. And my hands now because I made a giant mess. That's fine. And I'm going to add black right in there. I've got a dirty brush. You don't need to worry about it, but I'm coming all the way through. Can you see this okay? All the way through. And I'm adding more black. You want the top thinner than the bottom, so if you could turn this upside down. And I know that's like, oh, it's kind of scary to do, but that's okay. Just do it anyway. I bring it all the way through. Okay, and I'm planting that right there. And then I'm going to do the same with the other two. Just pull this in. And you can start on the bottom and go to the top. I'm doing this just because of the way that it works for me. I'm not too worried about it being perfect. I am only concerned really with making sure that the bottom is thicker than the top. Okay, And then I'm going to come in here and do the same. And this one's going to be pointed a slightly different direction. And that'll give a nice sense of balance. Pulling that down. Okay. And I'm pretty happy with those 3 trees. Good. I'm going to let that dry. Let it dry. And then I'm going to come in. What am I going to do? I'm going to wipe off this brush. And actually, I'm going to give it a good washing, I think. I think it's time for a bit of a washing. Dabbing my brush off on the paper towel. Now, what I want to do is start putting in some foreground here. And that'll give everything time to dry. And I can start shaping up. So the first thing I'm going to do is come in with, again, if you have light blue, you could use light blue, but I'm going to use my dark blue and white. And I like using that because it gives me a variation on my colors. So I'm going to come in, I'm going to go here, and I'm going to move up and pull down. I've lost my line a little bit, and that's fine. So I'm going to come in and just sweep that color on in. Doesn't have to be perfectly straight. That's really nice. Come in, do a little more. And I'm going to go right over that. And that's fine. Pop that in. Okay. And take your time there. And I'm getting the sides. And I'm going to come in on this side and do the same. It's like nice and dark. I'm actually going to make it slightly darker on this side. And on the bottoms. Get your bottoms. Get your bottoms here. Okay. And make sure you're using lots of white in there. And show me some stuff in there. Okay. So now we've got a base coat for everything, which is super nice. All right. So now let's do this. This is fairly dry up here. I'm going to come in. I'm going to take my palette. I'm just moving in a little bit of white. Moving in a little bit of white. And I want to start laying in some of this stuff. Now, I know I'm going to have to go over this. So we can do that around the same time. But over here, I just want you to play a little bit. And use the corner of your brush, and just give it a little, these tiny little, gently, like you're barely touching it, little frozen plants. Something like that. And pull it again and do the same thing where you're like, tap, tap, tap. And can you use a smaller brush? Sure. I like this brush, but you can use whatever floats your boat. Okay? Does that make sense? So we're just adding these little tidbits, and come in if you want. Pop in. Little bits. I'm just using the corner. And you can come down here and you can do the same if you want. But it's kind of fun. And I'll go over that maybe with a little bit of white. And as we move towards this kind of fun stuff, it's a great way. Now make sure, again, make sure your brush is chiseled. So the temptation often is to use the little tiny guy. And if that works for you, you can come in and pop in little bits like that. If you like that, that's fine. For me, it's just not the way that I feel as controlled. So, ooh. And those are a little bit darker. I'll probably come in and add. So what I want to do right here is add a little dimension before I go any further. So I've got a little blue again, and I want to go kind of across this. I want to kind of ever so gently mess these things up. So do you see how that's going to start moving in highlights? See if I can do this so I'm not in your way. Something like that. And it looks really nice. It's easy to do. Now mine are a little bit thicker. You can go thinner. You can add more white. And I'm going to pull this in, and I'm fine with going over my trees because I just want to add that sort of thing. And then with your trees, you can just soften whatever ended up inside. And this is an awkward angle for me, so I just turn it. And I'm going to use a little more blue. You could use light blue. You could use white, any of that stuff. And I'm just going to start adding little bits of these. And maybe a little along here. Does that make sense? Hope that makes sense. Okay, good. Good, and see how it feels. If it's nice, I think it's really pretty. I will probably come in and highlight just a little bit more. But then you can come in with your white and really start to move in some stuff. So this is all still really wet. So I will go over this again. But it's just starting to move that a little bit. Okay. And the trees are fairly wet still. So I'm just going to start over here because this little section for me is dry. And I'm going to start adding chunks of white. And I've still got a dirty brush. And I like using the dirty brush because I'm just going to start adding I'm just flicking this up. Just little bits, just flicking it up. And then in here, maybe I grab a little more blue and pop in some stuff going on in here, just bits. Doesn't have to be too much. You just need to fill little bits of that space. Hope that makes sense. Okay, did you see that? That's not hard, right? Not hard at all. And it just gives an interest, just a little bit of interest. So I really want all of this stuff to dry, and I can tidy it up as I go. But it's a great time to take you could do a little bit of wipe off your brush and grab, what if we try a little bit of this purple? You could go, we're going to do some branches. So you could do a little purple. You could go in with a little dark blue. You could go in with black and just gently start to add, again with the corner of that brush, thicker on the base than on the edge. And it's really important, if you go in the tendency is going to make this thicker because you're starting there. But if you go out, you could start here, just use that corner and flick off. So it's not like a hard flick by any means, but it'll just start to move things off there. That kind of thing. And that's fun. Ooh, it's giving it some life, right? And I'm using purple and dark blue on my dirty brush, but you could go, let's give a little black and see what that looks like. My paintbrush has a lot of stuff in it now, and that's fine. And just little bits. This tends to scare a lot of people, but practice on your your extra plate, or practice on your plastic tablecloth. If you got it from me, you should have an extra bit of tablecloth, which is super nice. Whoops. And you can even go sort of the other way too, and thicker there, brighter as you go. Now, if you need your paint to be more fluid, dab it in the water. So get whatever paint you want. I'm going to use blue. And let's do it on the back here so you can see really well. Dip your paint in the water and pull it. And I pull it about 5 or 6 times on each side, flipping the brush. And then you're going to find that that moves even better. And just pull it out wherever you think makes sense. And just play. And if you look at your painting, you can kind of go, ooh, right up here. You can go crazy with this stuff. And again, if you're not thin, don't push hard. Don't push hard. Push gently at the base. And I think that sort of thing is really fun, and it feels good. It's pretty satisfying. So just keep gently adding. You can go this way. And I tend to not like to, if I want to add a branch, I like going from the base out. Grab your stuff, pull it in, out, out. You can grab white if you want it to show that it's coming from inside there. Like maybe I go like this. Something like that. And just play around until you're quite satisfied. I think doing a few and giving it a break is the way to go, because you don't want to do too many. Okay. So that's about what I feel comfortable doing. I might add more later, but I think now is the time where I've got some blue right here. So it's just blue and white. And I like to pull, let's see if I can do this right-handed. I like to start my brush at the edge. Can you guys see that? At the edge and pull. Or you can go up. Pull. Does that make sense? So you can go up if you'd rather do that. And I'm going to pull some more white in here. And I'm doing this. Okay, pulling that up and adding a nice amount. Okay, so and just see what you like. See what you like. If it gets too crazy up here, come in and just soften. You can make it choppy. You can do, I like to just do one main side and see how I like it. And it's really fun. I really like this little thing, but I do feel maybe it's not quite the way I want to go yet. So I'm just going to soften that. And you're going to do the same thing. Just pop this in. And while I'm at it, I'm going to throw in some big fun streaks here that make me feel like it's more a part of the landscape there. So all right, so I'm going to come in and pop in a little of the same. Can you see that? Is that, and you can add more blue. Like mine's turned really light blue. I'm going to go past this and just see how you like it. Pop it up, pop it up. Okay. And if that's too harsh, then, you know, if it feels like it's too much, just come in, tap it in. Like that is the nice thing about this painting is you can go subtle with it. If you want, you can soften this like this, or you can go really bright. And I know this is a little cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, but you could even add these yellows in here and that would still look amazing. So if you're going to add any of the background colors, you want to make sure it's nice and dry first. But I want to go in here, and for me, I want to see if I can add these pinks and yellows in there. And I'm just going to tap it in and see what happens. That one has too much, but it's really pretty. It's really nice. So, and that's fine. I'm just going to do a little bit, see how I like it, and then come in down here and go kind of across like I did with some other stuff. Go up and can you see that? Should I go right-handed again? Okay. Like you could just really go up the side there. And that's kind of fun. And then I'm going to give the slightest highlight around this tree. Let's see how that looks. Good, good. So that's my first little bit of the trees. And I just want to look at it and just let it relax for a minute. And I definitely need to highlight the trees more. And I definitely need more highlight on my water. But for right now, it's pretty fun. So I'm going to grab some light blue from my branches. And you can do it. I'm doing it with the dark. And I'm just throwing in dark blue and white right on top of this stuff. Nice and white. Just right on top. So you can still see the underside of those branches. Underside of the branches are still dark. And then here, I'm going to do it too. And here, I'm going to add actually a good amount. And you could do something like this, where you just gently dab. That is perfectly fine too. And you'll have to decide what really works for you. You know, adding little bits like that is really fun. Again, dabbing. I got to turn on that light. Dabbing. Something like that. So as you bring it a little closer, you can kind of see. If I want to dab a little, let's go right in here and I'll just dab a little bit. Let's just move it in front of that tree. Why not? Okay. And then go ahead and ever so gently start to highlight this more. And that will feel a little bit better. And see if you like it. And you can tell, like, this is fairly well, like you can go in with dark blue here and add dark blue on the back side of this tree. So you can do that. And just play around with that. See how you like it. I do want some more highlights in these guys, and I'm going to go backwards for that. And if it's too patterny, mess it up. I think it's really pretty. All right. And then this guy, you could do the same thing, whatever you want to do with him. And he could even have, you know, he can go even lighter. He could go darker, whatever you want to do. This way you can have an idea of what it's like when it's a little bit brighter. So just play little bits by little bits. and see how you like it. I'm going to pull in a few more white highlights right on this tree. And if you start to lose that tree shape, just come in and tap it in. There's nothing wrong with that. Just tap it in. Okay. And come back in and play a little bit. But when in doubt, just let everything dry and come back. Stuff on the branches there. And then for me, I'm coming in with white now and popping in some frozen things that kind of live at the base of these little trees. And then ba 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 ba. Okay, and I'm coming in. Let's start. Let's see what you like. Okay, let's see if I turn off that light again. You can kind of get a better idea of what's going on. And I really do want more of a highlight there. All right. I want more of a highlight in here. So I'm going to wash my brush. And now that that middle section is nice and dry, I'm going to pop it over here. And I'm going to add white and maybe a little yellow. And, oh, nope, I got green in there. That's not what I want. No green, thank you. So if yours isn't dry, then don't worry about it. Just wait. And just see if you can get a brightness in there. Yep, I keep getting blue. So mine's not dry yet. And if that starts to get annoying, just if you have anything that you want to gently take off, you can. You can just pull that. If it's dry, you just have to wait for it to dry. But. All right. So if you look at the painting, it's actually pretty coolio. I want some more fluff and stuff up here. So I'm going to grab my medium brush still. And I've washed it. And I'm going to come in with a little bit of purple. And not too much, but I'm going to just start to dab, make little dabbies in here in the general shape of a tree line. It's not going to be perfect. Something like that. Oh, yeah, that just really, to me, feels better. And then I'm going to pop some in here. And I was using the purple lake, but I'm going to switch to pink over here. And hopefully this is dry. Yeah, I think that is super fun. And that just starts to feel much better to me. And if you want, you can pop in some of that stuff over here. Don't pull your tree line stuff down, but. And remember, be gentle with the brushes. You're not scrubbing, you're just gently. So I'm pulling down, if that makes sense. And I am really starting to like that. I think it is super fun. So up here, maybe I take a little of my purple and a tiny hint of white. I don't know. Let's see. Let's just play if we add a little up there. That's a little bit brighter. Do we like that? I don't know. Let's see. Yeah, just a little more something going on. So I might take a little pink and white, kind of like that. And I might go in and do the same thing over here. I want it just a little less smooth for me. And again, I am flipping like this. I just do it really fast. So it's kind of like this. And then maybe I grab a little bit. Oh, there's some stomping going on. And then do. Okay. Oh my goodness. There's a lot of stomping going on. And then, yeah. All right. And if you want, come in and put in a nice, gentle sun right in there. A nice, gentle sun. And and yeah, and I actually want to go with a whiter sun. Oops, I'm getting, the nice thing about this being super dry is I can just wipe it off. And yeah, I'm going to put in a slightly whiter sun. And I think I'm done. Sign it in the lower right-hand corner. But I think that's pretty good. Maybe I do want some more. You know, you can play with this for days, right? And I'm going to add more white as I go across my, there we go. Yeah, and I think we're pretty good. Okay, so have fun, enjoy it. And if you have any questions, you can call, of course. But yeah, this is pretty fun. And you can, goodness, you can just keep playing with this. It's really difficult to stop. In fact, I might add a little brightness to all of this along the waterline and pull that out a little bit with those beautiful white. Okay, good. And you can continue as you know, kind of to taste, to add a brightness to these edges as you feel fit. All right. Thank you so much, you guys. Have a good one.